This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. For all of you who are watching and listening to us on our X-Zone Radio TV channel at www.xzbn.net/live HTM. We understand that there's an audio problem. Apparently, the audio is only coming out of the left channel of your speakers if you're listening to us in stereo. We apologize for that. We were able to find the problem. It's a faulty wire. Technicians will be repairing it later on this afternoon or into the early evening, so my apologies for that, X-Zone Nation. And we are still in the very early stages of beta testing. We start full-time with TV and radio on April the 1st, so please bear with us. We're doing our very best, and speaking about the very best, my guest this hour is my good friend Dr. William Schneid, who is a criminologist. And Dr. Schneid has been actively involved in the field of law enforcement for over 40 years. He's worked with Internal Affairs, Narcotics Task Force, as well as patrol and investigative duties. He taught at the Rio Hondo Regional Police Academy on officer survival and ethics. He's been consulted with and been assigned to various federal agencies and task forces over the past 40 years. And he's routinely appointed by Los Angeles County Superior and Municipal Court judges as an expert in alternative sentencing and narcotics. Dr. Schneid has the reputation of being a professional seeker of truth and holds no bias to either the defense nor the prosecution, and he's been called upon for his expertise by both sides. He's a licensed private investigator in the state of California, and presently Dr. Schneid is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigation firm in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. Now, if you need the services of an international private investigation firm with fully, highly qualified personnel for very affordable prices, I might add, I'd like you to visit www.worldfind.biz. That's www.worldfind.biz. Joining me now from California is Dr. William Schneid. Bill, how are you, my friend?
Fine, Rob. It's a pleasure to be there.
Bill, as you know, we went down south to do an expedition on the land of the Maya, and I must commend the U.S. Border Patrol and the Department, what's it called, in Immigration and Customs Services. You know what?
Correct.
We were in line at Lewiston, and Lewiston is one of the busiest border crossings on the Ontario-New York border system, and the officers were doing their diligent job, and we got up to the customs officer, and he was very polite, and he ran our passports through, I guess it would be NCIC, and wished us a happy trip. Now, when we came back, we went into Miami, and in Miami, once again, very busy customs area. They had fingerprint pads and optic scanners that they were asking various people for one reason or another to look into the optic scanner or to supply their fingerprints, and many people both. What is the use of the optic scanners and the fingerprints, Bill?
Well, the fingerprinting is now computerized,
right.
So they can re-identify you, run you through a bunch of databases at high speed. Now we can positively identify somebody off a partial print. Mm-hmm. So it is, whereas years ago you had to have all 10 in order to identify someone. So it also accumulates data in the same sense that your passport is scanned. Biometrics, same thing. Your eye is as unique, and the configuration of your eye, pupil, iris are as unique as your fingerprint.
Bill, stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back talking more about this and much more this hour with Dr. William Schneid, www.worldfind.biz. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Exonation Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. He is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, www.worldfind.biz. As we were talking, Bill, before we went to the commercial break, so we're standing in line. We have all our luggage, and you know that little piece of paper that they give you to fill out, I guess it's the customs declaration?
Yes.
I don't understand why people try to pull the wool over these agents' eyes. They you know what? Be honest with them. It says if you need more forms, get the more forms. Well, we were allowed $750 and I think 2 bottles of alcohol. We didn't spend anything like that, but what we did was we marked down everything that we bought, and we had all the receipts ready for the custom officer. He asked us where we were, what we were doing, asked us for our passports, ran our passport scans through NCIC, said thank you very much, have a good day.
Oh, yeah, but they do spot check, regardless, because, there are people, of course, that are dishonest, or people that we find that don't have the receipts and are going to claim a watch they bought overseas is their standard watch. What they do is they mail the receipt ahead of them so that that's not part of their luggage. So, it does happen. Customs is there for a purpose. God knows how much stuff gets through, but, we do the best we can. There's a lot of profiling that goes on so that, they have sort of an instinctive way of smelling out somebody whose behavior is suspect. They pull them out of the line and make a more thorough search of them.
Bill, in the news today is the story of a sergeant in the United States, I believe it was Army in Afghanistan, who massacred, for a lack of a better word, 16 innocent civilians, set them on fire, and then went back to his camp and gave himself up. He had been deployed in Iran 3 times previous. While back at home, he has a major car accident that now people are saying was which led to the result of the massacre. Apparently, when he asked for help from the Army after this accident, they said, well, geez, it basically sucks to be you. What is your take as a professional criminologist of the events that happened in Afghanistan?
Well, I think anytime you're in a stressful war situation, it tries the very core of who we are. This is something that as civilians going into transition to go into the military, we don't have a clue as to what we're going to do. Then in boot camp, there's that attempt to regiment your behavior and your thinking and your thought processes, etc., and somehow or another acclimate yourself for what's ahead. Then once you're in the field, again, we're supposed to be looking for certain behavioral changes that would alert you that something may be wrong with that individual. This war is particularly interesting from the perspective that we have the highest level of suicide rate within the services, the Marine Corps specifically, than ever before. So, that has to tell us that the psychological effects of stress, war, being in a hostile country that really doesn't want you there, never knowing when an IED is going to blow up in front of you, that places you on stress almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And to be under that kind of stress, we don't know who's going to crack, if you will. And this was obviously a case of that happening. We had it when there was the famous picture a couple of months ago of a bunch of special forces guys that were urinating on dead bodies. You don't think of doing that in normal society, but there's the hatred that our people have for being there to begin with, the hatred for the ethnicity of the people that are there, the environment. They want to get back home. There's 100 reasons that that justify in their minds malbehavior. And, some people can handle it. Some people can handle 4, 5, 6 tours like it's a walk in the park. But not everybody is mentally equipped and has the coping mechanisms to deal with it.
What kind of help or what kind of psychological profiling would the Army do after a soldier comes back? Or do they just accept him at first look? Okay, he looks healthy, he seems to be healthy, so we're just going to redeploy him. Do they bring him to a point where they reevaluate his mental condition?
No, tragically, no. The services generally did away with the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory test, which is like 500 some odd questions. It was actually designed by the Army back around World War II to try to screen mass quantities of people. And through the years, it's become the benchmark of psych testing. Now, with us being a basically voluntary service, as opposed to back then when we were drafted, they did away with the MMPI. So we have, probably a higher level of instability amongst people that are in the service today than we would have had we, tested them as we did years ago. And I think that's reflected in the suicide rate. I think it's reflected in just the general behavior that we're seeing here.
Is there more help for law enforcement than there is for the members of the armed forces?
Well, law enforcement is more stringently screened initially, and you have to pass a polygraph, you have to pass a psychiatric exam, an intensive background check. There's a lot that goes into the backgrounding of a peace officer. If a peace officer is involved in a shooting incident, they're immediately placed on administrative leave. Now, there's a reason for that. I mean, the trauma of doing that. Now, you have to, if you look at the analogy of police and military, it's not dissimilar. Police are quasi-military organization, and yet here you have people that are involved in shooting civilians or other military personnel daily, and there is no relief. So, I mean, think of the comparison. Here we are in the States taking all of these precautionary measures involved with just a shooting incident. It doesn't even have to be a death, any shooting incident. And yet, from a military perspective, you could be mowing down people all day long, and nobody does anything. It's just business as usual.
With what happened in Afghanistan, do you think, being a criminologist and having 40 years police or law enforcement under your belt, we've talked many a times about terrorism, homeland security. Do you think that there are some factions or that the people who are against the United States will use this as an excuse to commit further acts against the U.S. at home and abroad?
Well, I think we're seeing that in Afghanistan now, when we had the incidents of the burning of the Quran. That drove people into a frenzy, and we still have the after effects of that incident. Then couple that with the urinating on dead soldiers.
Yes.
That's another one that foments discontent, to say the least. Now we have this incident, and the president can only apologize so many times, and and who knows whether his apologies even get beyond the government. I mean, everybody doesn't sit in Afghanistan tuned into a radio, so it doesn't take much to cause an insurrection kind of behavior, anti-Americanism, in a country that already doesn't want us there to begin with. So they don't need much to be set off.
Now,
they want us out of there.
Does this put Homeland Security on a high alert?
No. I think our intelligence continues to come in. We pretty much know what's going on. Remember, there hasn't been a terrorist attempt on the United States soil in who knows how many years. These events are thwarted, due primarily to good intelligence. Where we sit now with the Iranian-Israeli crisis, well, we're being brought again into the brink of being involved in another situation. So, the world looks at us from a different perspective than we see ourselves. We see ourselves as the, savior of the population of the world generically, and that's a role we really shouldn't be accepting, but nevertheless, for political reasons, we do.
This comes as at a very, very important time in the political career of President Obama, with the elections coming up in November. Do you think that these type of actions are going to be used by the opposition and by the people who are running against him to their advantage and his disadvantage?
Well, I don't think it has a downside. I think, given his presidential history and his accomplishments or perceived non-accomplishments, I think he needs any boost that he can get. Mm-hmm. And by saber-rattling against Iran, the people hear that, and it spikes a bigger interest in the president as being a doer and not just being present, but
Bill,
not being accounted for.
Bill, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation. Our good friend Dr. William Schneid is our special guest this hour. For all your private investigation needs at affordable prices, www.worldfine.biz. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Well, there you heard it from the big kahuna himself, President Barack Obama, talking about the events of this past weekend in which a U.S. military sergeant massacred 16 people, and then the bodies were burned. Bill, it's starting to sound a little bit of this like the stories we heard dribbling to America from Vietnam.
Well, going back to Vietnam, we had the My Lions massacre, where Lieutenant Calley was tried and convicted. So you have these things probably happen at some level or another during every war that you can think of. I mean, just when we went into Panama to take Noriega out, 10,000 innocent civilians were killed in the process of going after one guy. So Whereas I appreciate the president's mea culpa speech. The bottom line is that we will go after our targets regardless of the collateral damage. I mean, we didn't sit there and make big posturing speeches to the Panamanians and the dead that ensued from our excursion in there to pull a guy out that double-crossed us. So, this goes on, and, the beat goes on. War is ugly. Civilians will get killed. Soldiers will misbehave. Keep in mind, we still have Guantanamo, people being housed over there. We still have waterboarding. We still have all kinds of interrogation techniques. I mean, we just don't talk about it. The reason the president gets on the air is because, oops, we got caught doing something. And so quickly everybody has to scramble for damage control. But these aren't things, he wouldn't be having this speech unless it, was publicized prior to that, and he has to act. So, I write off a lot of this behavior to the unfortunate nature of war. As I told you before the break, I'm dealing with the Marine Corps on a soldier who came back who's got post-traumatic stress syndrome. And trying to get him help is worse than pulling teeth. I mean, and I'm licensed and I'm accredited, and I don't sound like a loon when I'm talking to his to the chaplain on the base that he's stationed at, or when I'm talking to the head of the therapy section. Everything moves at the speed of molasses, and it's just not fast enough because the military is not designed to be quick at anything. Now, they're quick to respond if this soldier was contemplating killing himself. Then they would be quick to respond. But just having some emotional disorder, no, they will get to him when they get to him. I mean, he's scheduled to get discharged medically. How long? I asked them, how long do you think that's going to take? And I said, at the rate the military moves, probably 6 to 8 months. So this guy unnecessarily is going to have to suffer with his issues for 6 to 8 months because the military chooses to drag their feet.
Unreal. Bill, we're hearing about PTSD, about the soldiers that are coming back from Afghanistan, soldiers that come back from Iraq, and other deployments around the world. I often wonder how many soldiers from World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, Vietnam, have suffered PTSD, and yet no one knew about it back then. And what would they appear to people to have at that time?
Well, they called it. I think if you scratch your head, you'll remember they called it battle fatigue.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so they had other names for it, but they recognized the anomaly of their behavior. People were having nightmares, sleepless nights. They'd hear a car backfire. They'd drop to the ground. They had all the symptoms of what we now know as PTSD, but we just didn't know what to call it except battle fatigue. And certainly didn't know how to treat it. We assumed just taking them out of the theater of operations was sufficient, but it really wasn't, because you got to figure nobody is conditioned sufficiently to be able to see carnage, whether it's the enemy or it's your buddy who just got his head blown off next to you. You're 18 years old. How can you possibly imagine anything as vivid and as shocking as something like that? We can't train you to be that desensitized that it just, rolls off your back. It's the same thing if you open fire and on a vehicle coming towards you, and it turns out you killed some kids and women in that car. I mean, how do we somehow justify it to you so you feel better? You can't. And so these become nightmarish incidents that you really have to work at. I mean, the crew of the Enola Gay that dropped the A-bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, I mean, some of them committed suicide. They had all kinds of things. I mean, the fact that you incinerated or made radioactive over 250,000 people weighs heavy on anybody's conscience, regardless of what the justification is.
But what about the men and women around the world who are sitting in missile silos, responsible for turning that key if the presidential order ever came through? Like you're sitting there for years, you're getting to go through a number of drills at the time. You don't know if it's the drill or the real thing. How do we maintain their sanity? And what is the treatment for anyone who's suffering from PTSD?
Well, we'll take your example of the missile silos. First of all, that crew, they go through intensive psych evaluations before they're put in that. Similarly, the Navy, as an example. I mean, you're going to be in submarine duty. You may be submerged for anywhere up to a year.
Wow.
Underwater, no view of the sky or anybody else other than that crew that you're with for a year. So I can assure you can't have somebody becoming, losing it when they're underwater
right.
on a mission under the ice pack somewhere. So they go through a lot of psychological testing. You see that with Navy SEALs and special operations groups, simply because they have to be well tuned. What you're talking about is sort of the general military population. How do we deal with that? We don't. I mean, that's the problem, is that we don't have the resources. We don't have we don't have enough care. Maybe that's even a better word, because the acclimating people to come back from killing, and we'll call them murderers. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It's like saying the word we neutralized those people. Well, no, we killed them. And murder doesn't necessarily have to be illegal. So you're pointing to these people and you're murdering them, and there's no polite way of dressing that up. So now you take these folks and you put them back into society, and where this is the way they dealt with a hostile environment, they killed people. So now these folks become police officers, whatever. You have to make darn sure that they have grasped the idea that we don't behave like that under civilian conditions. So the reconditioning of the human mind, once they've been exposed to this kind of a hostile environment, should be taken far more seriously than it is. Remember, the Washington sniper was a former Army guy.
Right, yeah.
So, or Timothy McVeigh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Former military.
It seems that... I'm sorry.
These people are, did the military cause them to act that way? No. But did it make them more comfortable acting in that way? Yes. I mean, once you've killed somebody, it's easier to kill somebody again. Killing the first time is very difficult.
Do we find that within the criminal element as well, Bill?
Yes. Not necessarily killing, but if you go robbing a bank, you rob the first bank, you're a nervous wreck, you got away with it, and so robbing the second one is simpler. I don't care what the crime is. Shoplifting, all the way up to murder. Assuming that the murder isn't a crime of passion, you caught your wife with somebody else and you killed them both. Well, most murders are crimes of passion, but serial killers will all tell, everyone that I've ever interviewed always says the same thing. The first one, they were a nervous wreck. After that, it was nothing to it.
So how do we treat these people? Do we give them psychotropic drugs? Do we put them in institutions? Do we give them help to withdraw them from that frame of mind, or is it a matter of deprogramming?
I think it's a matter of dealing with each case individually. I mean, every soldier coming back from conflict doesn't need intensive treatment, but they need to be intensively evaluated, to determine what treatment, if any, do they need. And if you don't do that, then you're dealing with landmines. All of these people are potential landmines. And I think that's where we're failing. We are not properly and deeply enough evaluating these folks that are coming back to see what, if anything, has traumatized them that they're dealing with.
So we have to basically get to understand them better and fix the problems, or fix the potential for a problem before the problem happens.
Yes, and the fact that we're downsizing the military and we're facing budgetary shortfalls, again, acts against that. Well, if we need to hire, 2,000 more psychologists, where's the money going to be found?
Right.
So it's a difficult time for our country, economically, militarily. There's a number of issues that we're facing that makes this kind of thing difficult. However, my favorite topic is foreign aid. I mean, if we withdraw $1 billion from here or there, you suddenly have enough money to hire the therapists necessary to do an extensive evaluation of returning soldiers. So it's not like we don't have the money. We just need to cut out some of the nonsense where we're spending money now and focus it where it's important. I mean, our greatest asset is the military. And to treat these men and women anything less than in the highest regard is inexcusable. I think the president needs to apologize to every single returning soldier for having inadequate evaluations. I mean, it's wonderful and it feels good to apologize to Afghanistani people for what happened, but he owes an apology, our government owes an apology to the men and women who are willing to sacrifice their life and are not getting the kind of treatment and evaluation and follow-up that they should be getting.
Bill, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exonation, Dr. William Schneid is our special guest this hour. He is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigation firm in Los Angeles and Riverside. Should you require the services of an international investigation company, whether it's for commercial, criminal, civil, insurance, whatever your investigative needs are, www.worldfind.biz. That's www.worldfind.biz. I'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
In the world of paranormal investigation, whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, extraterrestrials, and UFOs, how we gather that evidence of their existence, preserve that same evidence, and present it to a court of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Come with me on a journey that seeks to prove with undisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Join me, Larry Lawson, host of the Paranormal Stakeout, coming to the X Zone Broadcast Network. Check out the broadcast schedule for Paranormal Stakeout with yours truly, Larry Lawson, at www.xzbn.net. For more information about me, my travels, and my team, check out our website at www.paranormalfbi.com or join us on Facebook at Florida Bureau of Paranormal.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And welcome back, everyone. Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. He is currently the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group. Their website is www.worldfind.biz. Bill, a question just came in from Debbie, who's listening to us in Little Rock, Arkansas. She would like to know, with all your experience as a police officer, what was your most thrilling arrest?
Oh, goodness. I made over 3,000 arrests. The most thrilling probably had to do with some members of the drug cartel in Colombia. That was... I was shot 5 times in the process, so I don't know if it was as thrilling as it was death-defying. But bringing them to escaping and bringing them to justice, I would say, was probably the most, if I had to think of the most dramatic moment anyway, that would be considered the most dramatic moment.
How long of an investigation was it, Bill, before you brought them back into justice?
Well, between the escape and bringing them back and dealing with those people that were holding us captive, I was under 30 days.
Wow.
You just have to want to do business and be done with it.
I guess.
That's why we could wipe out these cartels if we just, got serious about it.
Listen, I've often wanted to ask you this question, and it just came to mind. Do you ever watch the television show Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Oh, Lord, yes. I mean, that shows you that a reality show can be made with any buffoon. The guy is a clown. He's disrespected by everybody in his industry, but he's a clown celebrity. I mean, that's like watching the show The Hoarders. I mean, do I really care about people who hoard stuff for 20 years? But, whatever. No, I think he has no redeeming social value. If he had not been sent to Mexico and arrested over trying to get a hold of the heir to a Max Factor, we would never even know about this guy. He's, I have to take a shower after even hearing this now.
What are those guns that they carry? Because apparently he can't carry a restricted weapon because of his past criminal record, and here he is, a bounty hunter.
Well, you can. What these guys are all carrying, his sons, and I mean, his wife has a pair of guns, all right.
Yeah,
but
she sure
anyway,
does, yeah.
All of those are mace. So when you see them draw that out of a holster, that's just like tear gas or pepper spray.
It also looks like
none of those guys are armed.
It looks like they're also carrying paintball guns.
But tasers.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, they can't be armed. They can't be armed. If you're in a situation as a bounty hunter, unless you have the appropriate licensing, etc., and that crew, I'm sure, does not. They're not going to do that. But again, they don't have to. I mean, they're making enough money off of this series that I'm sure they'll never have to work again.
Bill, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us. Thanks very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on the X-Zone. And I look forward to the next time when you and I meet. So until then, my friend,
always
take care of yourself.
And I hope you feel better.
Thanks, Bill. X-Zone Nation, Dr. William Schneid has been my guest this hour. He's the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigations firm in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. Visit this website, www.worldfind.biz. That's www.worldfind.biz. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.